Hi there, my name is Christina Bauer, best-selling author of The Power of Our Unshakable Presence, also host of today's program, Moving Beyond Illness, Anxiety, and Depression. Today, we're going to be sharing about craniosacral therapy. Not just craniosacral therapy, also the effects of the stress in our lives, the stress hormones, and how they affect our moods and our health, and how craniosacral therapy can significantly improve our sense of well-being and our physical, mental, and emotional health. So, most people today are pretty familiar with the stress response. Many of us have heard how when we are stressed, cortisol, which is a stress hormone, runs through our bodies. And this cortisol affects the serotonin and the dopamine, as well as other things, but these two hormones specifically. And serotonin and dopamine have huge significance in our state of well-being, physically, emotionally, and mentally. When the serotonin levels get low in our body, it can affect our appetite. It affects our sleep, our emotional states, our energy levels, and over a period of time can create significant physical challenges and eventually illness. Dopamine is the opposite response of serotonin. It's more of the pleasure response in the body, the hormone that allows us to experience pleasure in our daily circumstances. Now, if the dopamine hormone response is low in our bodies, then we can find ourselves plummeting emotionally. Low serotonin and dopamine levels are known for having a direct response with depression. Also, they're now linking some more serious mind effects such as dementia and possibly Alzheimer's with these as well. Rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune disorders, Parkinson's, pretty much any disease can come initially from depletion. And when these stress hormones are in effect, they cause a severe depletion of our serotonin and dopamine. Now, these things are important to know because maybe we're thinking we're depressed because we have an illness, or maybe we're having an anxiety attacks and we're thinking it's because we're just stressed. And it's true that these things can assist in those circumstances or those responses. But it's also true that sometimes it's as simple as correcting the stress response. Now, the stress response can be corrected, and this is something that I feel is very important to know. We may have a circumstance in our life that creates a tremendous amount of stress inside of us. It could be being diagnosed with something. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be losing our job or having to move. Whatever it is that comes our way that can create a severe amount of stress for a certain period of time is important to pinpoint, because during that period of time, our stress hormone, the cortisol, is going to be strong moving through our body, which means it's going to deplete our immune system, our dopamine and serotonin levels. Now, what happens is after we make it through these tremendous circumstances and time has passed and healing has come, oftentimes the body has not reset itself. So the cortisol can still be running through the body the way that it was when we were in extreme turmoil. There is a way to reset this system in our body. And I've been practicing this modality, craniosacral therapy, for over 20 years now. I've seen the tremendous effects that it has on people. It's such a subtle yet extremely powerful therapy in resetting the central nervous system. The central nervous system governs every system in our body. It's like rebooting at the core. Like when you restart your computer, right? It's refreshing everything. We have this capacity within our bodies as well. Mostly osteopaths practice craniosacral therapy. Some chiropractors, massage therapists. It's a very easy modality to learn, but it takes time and practice and sensing because craniosacral therapy affects the flow of the cerebral spinal fluid that flows up and down the spine from the cranium to the sacrum. It also is very powerful in minute adjustments within the cranium and the sacrum, and can also be used effectively throughout the spinal area. When the cerebral spinal fluid is not flowing properly through the spinal column, there can be issues that come into play. This can it does affect our central nervous system, can affect our hormonal system, our nervous system, our immune system. So it's important to come to caring for the system in our body. The central nervous system, like I said, governs every system in our body. So by receiving craniosacral therapy, which is a very gentle, light, but powerful therapy, we are resetting every system in our body. Over a short period of time, when this happens, it corrects the stress response. It stops the stress response from its natural habitual pattern that's been taking place. This can be so powerful in affecting how we're sleeping at night, affecting how we feel about everything in our lives over the course of our day, how much energy we have. So if we're experiencing illness, anxiety, or depression, this is a very powerful, easy place to start. There are many practitioners all over now who practice craniosacral therapy. And it's a modality that does not take a lot of time. Within the first session, generally, even if people haven't been sleeping at night much at all, they'll have the deepest night of sleep they've had in a long time. There's a calming that happens in the system, which is felt immediately, even while on the table. In fact, most people fall asleep while they're experiencing craniosacral therapy on my table. And that's a direct sign that the central nervous system has reset itself. It's such a powerful modality that it doesn't just have its effect while we're receiving the treatment or on the table. For a few days after, the body is still continuing to reset itself. Things are being realigned, energy centers are opening, micro movements might be happening within the spinal, the bone structure itself. So this is something that I feel is worthy of exploring because it is such a powerful modality in our healing our mental worlds as far as brain fog, depression, that melancholy that doesn't just happen in our emotional world, but happens in our head as well. The negative thought patterns, the lack of energy to sustain feeling well. And of course, basic things like our appetite, our sleep, even our sex drive. It has a powerful effect on every system of the body. So, if you have been receiving information about your serotonin levels or your dopamine levels or your cortisol levels, craniosacral therapy can be a very powerful way to recorrect those levels in the body. Nobody wants to be having anxiety. Nobody wants to be feeling depression. Nobody wants to be feeling a lack of energy or not be able to sleep. All of these things, even the inflammation in our body, resetting the system can reduce the inflammation in our body. It can stimulate the lymphatic system, which detoxes our body. There are so many benefits, uncountable to even name here. So, craniosacral therapy. To explain how craniosacral therapy works can be challenging. When you're on the table, unless you're very sensitive, you may feel like nothing's happening because it's a series of holds. So if I'm using my hands like this under the cranium, per se, with somebody that's on the table, I'm holding, I'm sensing, I'm feeling the cerebral spinal fluid move up and down the spinal column. I'm noticing the opening between the spine and the cranium, the cervical vertebrae and the cranium, the atlas that's there. I'm feeling the opening and the energy movement and the nerve connections that are happening in the body as shifts are taking place. So, the thing that you're going to feel probably more than anything else is a sense of deep relaxation, if not going to sleep, like I said. The calming effect that takes place. Some of the people that I've worked with over the years will say, I don't know how you do it, but you knock me out every time. That's not my intention, of course, but when the central nervous system resets itself, there's a long, steady, deep breath that takes place that may have not taken place for years sometimes. It also can be very powerful for newborn babies or children because, especially with newborn babies, when they have come through the birthing canal, everything gets compressed and the cranium bones and how the spine come out during that process can affect our cerebral spinal fluid. So I love treating newborn babies, also children that are having Tourette's or headaches, anxiety, even depression. Children these days, it's so sad to say, but so many children are experiencing depression. Resetting that central nervous system and helping everything come back into alignment is very powerful. Also, headaches, migraines, that's really such a powerful transformation that I've seen take place. When people have gone to the doctors, they've even had CAT scans, they cannot find what is causing their headaches. And with usually even sometimes just one craniosacral session, sometimes it takes a few, migraines and headaches are severely reduced, if not completely eradicated. So, sounds pretty worthy of exploration, right? My intention is to help educate you, to empower you, and to inspire you to be able to take your health care into your own hands. Our allopathic systems don't always contribute to our well-being. They're still seeing the body in its separate parts rather than as a whole. But craniosacral therapy is a very powerful therapy that can help eliminate all of the symptoms that we're here discussing today in this episode of Moving Beyond Illness, Anxiety, and Depression. So you can probably Google craniosacral therapy to find out more information. You can Google craniosacral therapists in your area. You can look up osteopaths. That's a really, and then call and see if they practice craniosacral therapy, because not all of them do. Also, massage therapy. You could probably Google massage craniosacral therapy and find a practitioner that works near you. Now, a effective craniosacral therapy session will have powerful effects the first time. Whether you feel them when you're on the table or after you get off or later that day or the next few days, you will feel an effect. So if you're not experiencing some kind of effect, then I would question the ability of the practitioner. And I would encourage you to seek another practitioner to see if you have a better result. If you have any questions about anything ever that I share, you can always email me at info@christinabauer.com. And like always, I encourage you to inquire and explore for yourself. Never believe anything that I say, but use it as a questioning for yourself, an exploration, an inquiry, and a way to learn information on your own that could be helpful for you. I hope this information has been helpful for you today. And like I said, feel free to email me if you have any questions. Thank you for joining me here today for Moving Beyond Illness, Anxiety, and Depression. And I look forward to seeing you again for our next episode. Bless you.